Welcome, friends, to another Wolff Responds. I want to respond now to the decision by a judge that Google is a monopoly and is abusing its monopoly power to rip off the rest of the economy. That is a profound change in the atmosphere in this country. Most of the time, monopolies are rewarded, as indeed Google has been over the last at least 15 to 20 years. It's been investigated over that time, and now there has been a case brought against them over that time. And I should assure everyone that it was making billions and billions of dollars in extra profits. It was already a profitable company, but the monopoly gave it the right and the ability to raise prices much higher. Everybody else lost because they had to pay the higher prices. Specifically, the advertisers who want to reach the consumer to get the consumer to buy whatever the company makes. The shoe company, the hamburger company, the boat company, you name it. Everybody who advertises and uses Google. Google had a monopoly because it could reach the most people. Why? Because it entered into deals with the likes of Apple and other companies to make the Google search engine the default search engine that you got to use unless you went out of your way to pick another one. And most consumers didn't. They took the default search engine that came with their device and used it, allowing Google to charge the advertisers wild amounts of money because you really got to reach the public because Google had a monopoly on the search engines and their position in the public. Straight out monopoly game of the sort monopolies have been playing as long as there have been monopolies, which is to be counted in the centuries. So, on one hand, there's nothing new here. What's remarkable is that a capitalist government, influenced and shaped by capitalist corporations, and above all, those with the most money, who are likely to be the monopolists, actually pushed and got a judge to find that Google was indeed a monopoly. We'll see what punishment is levied out on them. And we'll also see, no doubt, appeals that will drag this process out, during which time Google will be making billions off of its monopoly. Now, I don't want to pick on Google, although why not? But I do want to stress that this is not unique to Google. Every capitalist enterprise, small, medium, and large, fantasizes about getting a monopoly. In other words, capitalism has built in the incentive to monopolize. And let me explain quickly why. If you're a company that produces something and you actually have competitors, other companies, not you, that also produce that thing, that hamburger, that haircut, that automobile, well, then you're limited. You can charge enough money to pay all your costs, and you can charge enough money to give yourself a nice profit. But if you do more than that, your competitors are going to say to the public, why pay more for what this guy's doing? We will offer you the competing commodity at a better price for you. Now imagine, here comes the fantasy of our little capitalist dreaming in the middle of the night. Imagine the competitors were gone. And then you could not only make a return that covers your costs and a return that gives you a reasonable profit, But the sky's the limit. You can keep raising the price because your consumers have nowhere else to go. Your customers don't have competitors to switch their business to. And you can raise the price. We call that the monopoly price, the higher price you can charge when you've got a monopoly. So, what have you got to do? You got to get rid of your competitors. In the history of capitalism, there are real gross examples where that was done by, get ready, killing them, hiring people to get rid of them. In certain businesses, that still goes on. We call that crime. The reality is there are lots of ways to get rid of customers. The way Google did it was to say to places like Apple, we will pay you a lot of money. All you got to do is put the Google search engine on everything that you put out there in the world so that people get a Google search engine and would have to go out of their way to try to use something else, which few turn out to do. So you got rid of your competitors. There are hardly any left. You have a monopoly, which is what that judge found. But now let's watch. Let's watch to see whether they really get hit with a kind of fine that makes a difference. For Bloomberg, for anybody like a serious observer of what's going on, like Bloomberg, it has to be in the billions or else it isn't serious. Google is a multi-billion-dollar business, one of the biggest in the world. And its fine has to be proportional to the business it does, or else it will not have the effect that we want. And what is that effect? Lots of lawsuits about all the other monopolies we face, which is in most of the industries that produce what we buy. So there either has to be a wave of this to really reestablish competition, and that means a heavy, heavy, heavy punishment on Google, or it'll turn out that Google in the end has won the game by walking away with a 10 million or $100 million fine, which sounds like a lot to the average person, but is the equivalent of taking a quarter and a dime out of your pocket for something that has hurt everybody else in the economy. Now, the last part of this. The defense of all monopolies is we do a good job of what we do. Well, it's kind of hard to tell because you don't have the competitors who would be looking to outdo you. So we don't know whether we can have much better privacy protection than Google has been able to offer. We don't know what other developments competitors would have come up with that search engines could achieve because Google doesn't have to worry about what the competitors might do because it has gotten rid of them. So make no mistake, the reason the United States Congress passed the Sherman antitrust law back in 1890 and then again reinforced it in 1914 with the Clayton Act, the reason why the Department of our government have an antitrust division in the Justice Department to snoop out, to find, and to prosecute illegal monopolies is because we have suffered grievously from them. Don't let propaganda make you forget the history that produced antitrust activity. That's what's being fought out yet again. And why? Because built into capitalism as one of its major flaws, among many, is the built-in incentive to monopolize. And yes, we have laws that go against it. But you see, it happens anyway, despite the prosecutions. Maybe even because of them, they find new ways of organizing their monopolies. It's not because they're greedy. It's not because they're weird. It's because the system is built in that way. You don't want monopoly? An antitrust division comes late to the table. Google has been monopolizing us for a long time. You don't want it? You got to deal with the system that makes it an incentive, that rewards the monopolists 99% of the time. If commentary like this strikes you as useful, please share it with your friends, your colleagues, your coworkers. That's why we produce these videos. And we always end by reminding you that if you believe this is valuable, please take a moment, go to our website, democracyatwork.info, and throw a little money our way to help cover the expenses of producing and distributing these videos. Thank you.